So, one of the questions that I guess I have is, do you think it's different? And you're a woman. Do you think it's different for black men and black women? And does gender? How much does that make a difference? Do you think in what you've experienced?
So partially what first comes to mind is so I can't speak fully for black males.
Yep.
But what I do know and understand is kind of in the hierarchy ranking, right? Black women are kind of below. They're more oppressed than black men. Black men are often given more opportunities than black women. And so I think back and I think about the ways, so I have a brother, so it was just me and my brother, that the only siblings. And I think about the ways in which we both grew up in Indianola and how I think I felt a lot more kind of ostracized, a lot more separated, detached from other kids because I felt like I was not as accepted. Him being a male, I think he was a lot more accepted. So that's kind of to say, I never had any kind of white boys interested in me. I wasn't necessarily interested in them as well, but I just never had that, right? Whereas my brother, he did. He had some, white girls kind of interested in him. And so I think about even the ways in which we grew up. And of course, in the mix of that is personalities and all of that stuff. But there is that undercore reality as well. Just the ways in which the opportunities that he got. He was asked often, to be a part of this sport or be a part of that. To a certain degree, right? Whereas I was never. I was very athletic. I remember. I can remember. This is strange. I can remember being in. I think it was high school or junior high, whatever. I think it was high school, and we were in gym and we were playing wiffle ball, and I hit that ball and it hit the bleachers. I mean, it was the furthest ball hit, and the coach was also. Kind of athletic director, whatever, but never approached me about playing softball or anything like that. So opportunities and stuff just were not even available to me. So I see my son and my daughter, and I also see some of that play out in some aspect. Mm-hmm. It's better for them now than I think it was for me and my brother growing up. Way back when, mm-hmm. But I think it still plays out.
Yeah. You are one of the most faithful and loving people that I know. I mean, just flat out. When I encounter you, I know that it will be with a sense of joy of the goodness of God, consistently. Always. You have never treated me in any other way than that. That just like, isn't God good? And aren't we blessed? How do you maintain that when you have this, when all this is going on? And I know, and I'll just add this, I know people from the churches that you've served, and to mention, Pastor LaTonya, they're like, oh, universally, the most loving person. How do you love in the midst of the mess?
All be by the glory of God, right? First and foremost, again, this is for me. First and foremost, I know that God has carried me through and that God is a very present help. And I love Jesus. I love the Lord. I love God. And so that has been my source and my help. I think that's one of the things that Black Baptist Church, Black community kind of afforded me. This theology around God of the oppressed and how God is with us. And so I have, that has sustained me. That way of going, that I think that has sustained me. And so I love God. I know that God is with me, that God helps me. So I think that's prayerfully, that's what they see, not me, but the God in me. I often say, I love God so much. You can't out love God more than me.
The competitive God loving.
That's a competitive, right? But really, it is to say, I don't always get it right. Lord help me, I don't. But I try in the best way, and knowing that. It can get hard. It can be hard and long, and even this fight against racism, in this land of which we were not welcomed. So inherently, it is what it is, but there still is a God that helps to govern my life and carry me through this. I had a pastor once that said, if you don't laugh, you'll surely cry. So I try to keep joy in me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I try to keep joy around,
Yeah.
try to keep joy. And again, I'm not always up. You said, you saw me feeling hurt and so painful around all of this. And I will have to say, I think so much of it comes from, we've been here before. What difference is it going to make? Mm-hmm. And still we're getting killed. Still we're experiencing this. Still it's wretched and just evil. And we've been here before. This feels slightly new because it seems as though, quite frankly, there are more white people in the fight than in the prior. Just I'm talking even just like the past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Of when we've been witnessing this over and over in this manner, really kind of due to social media and
Right.
all of that, right? But this moment, this time felt different because it seemed like there was more white folks in the thing. A comedian, Dave Chappelle, talks about he had an African friend, and he asked his African friend, how did the apartheid end? And his friend said, well, it ended because there was critical mass, and they could not stop the momentum of the critical mass. And so that's what you almost want to have hope around. But this I know, if it's not personal, then seemingly that hope doesn't last. That critical mass seems to fade away. And so, and I think that's also somewhat of what I've seen of human nature. So one of the things that I got triggered by was in this time of COVID and the sense of wanting to get back to normal, not protecting the most vulnerable, not for folks moving into the sense of violating my own personal rights, protecting my own personal rights. That whole sense to me felt as though not godlike. And that we don't really want to consider others even before ourselves. That we won't do what is even uncomfortable for us, so that all of us can be well. I heard it in interviews of folks that really are against, that really feel like this is kind of a mandate against my own personal rights. And this whole thought around as well, survival of the fittest. I actually heard that spoken out again.
Oh, wow.
Which to me is totally parallel with the ways in which fighting for injustice, when that critical mass is there and it just kind of because people want to go back to normal. People want to go back to the way things were, or I was in that fight for a moment, but I'm tired, right?
Yeah.
And that's, quite frankly, to me, that's a moment of privilege, because I can't get out of the
You
fight.
can't
The
go
fight,
back.
right?
Yeah, you can't step out of it. No.
That was a lot.
Well, the notion of critical mass, when enough people care, things change. And then what I heard you say was, we care when we're in relationship, when we see people, and really see people as people. I'm preaching on Sunday about Esau and Jacob when they come together. And when they do, there's this great line where Jacob says, and Jacob had his issues, but when Jacob looks at his brother after all this division, and he says, I look at you, and I see the face, it's like seeing the face of God. And, so when we look at each other, and I think when we see something of God in one another, when we see God looking back at us, it's that relationship, and that's when it starts to make a difference. When there's something more.